Hi, it's Ramak back with you with our next module, Portraiture in the Studio. Today we're working in a controlled studio environment, working with a number of different lighting scenarios. We're going to work with mono heads, and I'll introduce those now, and also light modifiers. I hope to introduce you to some of the basic elements that you can use as building blocks to developing your own studio working style. There are no set rules here. These are just some suggestions and strategies you might want to use. I think it's really important to also consider the choice of working in the studio versus working outside. And as your practice in photography and art develops, you'll notice there are times when it's advantageous to shoot outside, or more than advantageous, it's the only option. And there are other times when you'll be introduced into a controlled environment, which might be a studio or an apartment or a house. So it's important to develop proficiency with both. The studio environment, as you might imagine, offers a lot of advantages. It's a controlled environment, as I mentioned. It has control over weather, over temperature, over lighting. So I think there's those things to consider when you make that choice. But it can also be a lot of fun working in a studio. Oh my gosh, Ari, not so fast. This is the strobe unit we'll be using. It's called a monolight, and it's very simple. The generator is built directly into the head. And you'll see here, the front of it, there's a flash tube on the outside ring, and there's a modeling light in the middle. The flash tube is what creates the flash. This. And the modeling light is what creates an approximation of the flash. It's not really, the modeling light isn't meant to be photographed with, it's just meant to give you an idea of what the light is doing. And all of the modifiers I'm going to show you attach to this unit. Very lightweight and very simple. This modifier is a simple 7-inch reflector. They come in different sizes, but this one's a 7-inch. And in some ways, I think this might be the single most versatile light modifier. It just simply attaches to the back of your strobe like this. And as you might guess, the light bounces off here and goes out. Very simple. Has a small little hole here. Actually, this hole, you line it up, and the umbrella goes in here like that. This next light modifier is known as a beauty dish. And you can see here, maybe some of you have seen this. And what a beauty dish does is the light from the strobe goes and it hits the back of this little plate, and then it bounces off of here, the dish, and it comes out. You can put a grid here, or you can put a diffusion filter. We'll work with this today and just using it in this form. It attaches to the back of the monolight. The next modifier I'd like to show you is a simple umbrella. This is a diffusion umbrella that we're using. They come in different styles and types. But as the name implies, it's just a simple umbrella that light passes through it, and it helps diffuse both strobe light and continuous light. It's very versatile and very compact. Okay. This light modifier I'm going to show you is called a light bank or a soft box. It's a large diffuser, and it diffuses the light. You can see the light that comes from the strobe here. The light comes, it passes through this scrim, it's diffused, and then it's further diffused by the front panel. Okay? And these come in a variety of sizes and shapes. It's probably the most common type of light modifier softbox. This last modifier I'm going to show is actually for blocking the light. It's called a flag, a simple black flag. You'll remember that the light you block is as important as the light you add. I'll show you some small little tricks you can do with this. Before starting, it's important, for the purpose of this example, to raise the camera directly eye level with Ariana. The center of the camera, more or less, is set at her eye level. This will be our baseline from which we'll work for the rest of the pictures. Now, I'm going to start working with Ariana using just the mono torch, without any light modifier or reflector. I'll do a light meter reading, aiming my light meter directly at the strobe. I get a light meter reading of, at 400 ISO, I get a reading of f11 at 125th of a second. So I'll take my first picture like that. Ariana, can you look right into the lens? Okay, that's my first one. Now, just to make sure, I'll take a second one. That's my second one. Now, what I'll do, just to show you what the light is doing, I'm going to gradually move this light around. Ari, can you continue looking in the lens? I'm trying to maintain the same distance to Ariana each time that I had in the first original light meter reading of f11. And just to give me some ideas, I'm going to move the light over here. I'm even going to bring it over here just to see what it does, to give me an idea of what's happening at a consistent light meter reading. I'm even going to try carefully taking one with the light below her. And one just above the lens. Okay, thank you. Now I'm going to add a light modifier to the previous example. I'll put it on the front. And I previously did a light meter reading and I discovered that it's one stop brighter. So I'm going to change the meter reading to f11. From f11 to f16. Okay, Ariana, can you look right in here? Okay. Now, since you saw in the previous example how I move the light around, I'm actually going to take this off the light stand. I'm going to remove the light stand and I'm going to hold this in my hand. Ari, can you continue looking? I don't recommend you do this yourselves, but just to give you an example, I think it's good for showing. Okay, let's take a look at those and see how that turned out. For this next example, I'm using the Beauty Dish modifier that I've positioned central to the camera in Ariana. It's just above the lens, about maybe 20 centimeters. You can play around with the position of that, but I just want to show you a little bit what that does. I've done a light meter reading and established it at the same f16 as we had previously, and I had to increase the light power a little bit because this modifier uses a lot more, it absorbs a lot more light. Okay, Ariana, can you look right into the lens? Perfect. I'm going to set the focus a little more accurately. Great. Okay, can you put your chin up a bit, Ari? Super. Okay, and you'll notice the shadow under Ariana's chin, how that looks. So, okay, thank you. I'm doing a light meter reading just to double check, but I'm getting f16 and a half. So I'm going to turn it down a little bit. f16 and a half might be too much. I'm going to go down a half a stop. Let me do another light meter reading. Good. Okay, Ari. Let me move this light a little bit more this way. Look at, oh, your eyes were closed there. Yeah, it's a little risky moving it around like this, but I think we can really achieve some interesting results and experiment. We're going kind of quickly here, so hopefully you'll be working with a little more patience. That last one felt a little dark. Let me get another one. Let me try it from over here. This might block the camera view, but that's okay. I just want to see what we'll be able to see the picture and see what it looks like. Okay, Ari. Can you relax your smile a bit? Chin up a bit? Face to the right a bit? Can you turn? Okay, your chin up a little bit more. Straighten your back a bit, Ari. It feels like you're fading down. Okay, eyes down to the camera. There. Turn a little bit more towards the light. Okay, a little more, Ari. Great. Okay, thank you. Okay, now we've set up the softbox, lateral to Ari, and I'm going to do a light meter reading, see what the value is. At 400 ISO, our baseline, 125th of a second, the reading is F16. Okay, perfect. Now, ready, Ari? Look right into the camera. Okay, I'm going to turn this a little. Okay. And you can see here, okay, no, these look great. Okay, now we've gone through our light modifiers. We've gone through the raw strobe, then we did the raw strobe with a reflector, and then we did the beauty dish, we did an umbrella, and now we've done the softbox. And now I'd like to show you that gobo, that black flag that I had shown you earlier. Let me grab it. Okay, I have the black flag here, and I want to show you guys what happens with the black flag. I'm going to go off camera and block some of the light coming on Ari, and let's just see what happens. Are you able to see the flag? Ari, can you put your hand up to your chin like you were before? Like maybe put your feet up like you, yeah, like that. And yeah, there. Okay. Sometimes in the studio I like to put pieces of tape actually on my clothes so that later on I have them available if I need to use them in any way. It's helpful. It's important when you're working to work safely, so not to leave cords out like this. So if you have to tape down your cord, you can do this. Especially in areas where people are walking. Safety needs to always be a priority when working in the studio. I'd like to take this opportunity also in this module to show you how to properly fold and unfold a light stand. The best way is to use all of your two hands and fingers to feather it open by gently loosening this knob. Then once you've found the base and tightened it, not over tightened, just lightly tightened, you can gradually lower, starting from the bottom, you can lower to the desired height, the other knobs, like that. Okay? And the reverse is true for folding it back up. Start at the bottom, like that, and then bring the other elements down like this, without bending your knees or overexerting yourself. You'll find in the studio environment, you're often coiling cables, so I think it's important to share how you might want to do that. My personal preference is to hold one end of the cable in my right hand, and then using the left hand, gradually bring it around like this, just sort of loop it naturally. And with this hand, my left hand, I'm just slightly curving it towards the other hand, so it finds its natural curve, like that. And then you have a nice tight loop. Brought into OSX Photos the pictures we took from our earlier session with Ariana, and I've divided them into the categories of light modifiers we use. Here, the bare bulb, then the reflector, the beauty dish, the umbrella, and finally the softbox. Let's take a look at how each one of these 5 modifiers changes the light on Ariana, starting with the bare bulb. You'll notice right away that the bare bulb creates a kind of harsh shadow you'll see here on the bangs, the reflection of her bangs on her face, the shadow under her chin. The light is harsher here. And you see a kind of spectral highlight, which is basically a direct reflection of the light source on her skin. Then moving, here I moved the light a little bit beneath her and it created this shadow. So moving then to the reflector, the 7-inch reflector, the light, the surface area of the reflection is a little larger, and you can see how that changes the light a little. Now I'll remind you that none of these pictures have been retouched in any way, and you can address that retouching depending on your individual preference. But this module and these lessons aren't a place in which we're going to be discussing software retouching. You can see what happens when the light moves around a little bit. I was moving the light, and you can look at that again earlier in the video in the first 10 minutes. And here, as the light moves off to the side, creates a lot more contrast. There's less light in these shadow areas. So just moving the light a little bit can really alter significantly the atmosphere that you create. And I think here, if you can see, the light was probably coming from down here beneath the camera, off to the left, camera left. Light's moving around here, the light's behind her. Here the light is just against the wall. You can see the light in the camera, in the frame. And now I've moved over to the beauty dish, which we had located centrally above the camera, you remember? And you can see immediately the difference between that picture and this, for example. Here the light is much softer, and the shadows are much softer, and there's more reflection in her hair and also in her jacket. So the light is more even. And now I'm introducing the umbrella off to the side. Very similar, I think, to the beauty dish, the umbrella. Maybe a bit softer. Eyes are closed. And I move the umbrella around. This is when the umbrella, I think, fell a little bit. I think that brought a smile to Ariana. Maybe my exposure is a little low here. You can adjust that later in your software. Okay, and now we have the light bank, which is our softest light source. Creates a uniform, diffuse light across a wider surface area. She brought her hand up. I think it's always nice to include a hand in a portrait like this. I enjoy that. Again, depends on what your objective is and kind of image you're trying to realize. So these are, oh, and I recall here we use the black flag. You'll see as how the flag is adjusting the light here on her sleeve. I don't think it's as evident here. I have some other pictures after this screencast I'll show you some other images in which I think that's more evident. We'll come to that. But before doing that, why don't we make a selection of images from each of these categories and share those with Ariana and get her feedback, what she feels those images achieve, and maybe she can address some of the particularities of the lighting quality and how she feels she's depicted. As a photographer, sometimes we don't, or we aren't as aware of certain particularities that maybe the subject might notice. Okay, I've opened up 5 of the portraits we saw earlier, a selection of 5, each taken with a different modifier device. And now I'm going to sit with Ariana and we're going to have a look at these and talk a bit about them. Ariana, what's the first thing, your first impression looking at these?
All of them are definitely very different from one another, each having a contrast of quality of light. Some of the images, I think that the light is softer, whereas some of the light is harder.
Yeah. So moving from the left, this is the hardest light, and this we could say is the softest. So it goes from hard to soft. What are some of the things that you like about each light? How do you see yourself in these pictures? Here, you can use those.
I notice with the hard light, I get more detail in the hair right here in comparison to maybe this image right here. If you look here compared to here.
Yeah.
This hard light here used with the bare bulb, I have more detail, it's more defined. Whereas with the soft light in here.
Is there an image across this range of 5 that you prefer, looking at these 5 images?
Yes, I would say the beauty dish. Feel that the light is more evenly dispersed in the photo compared to this hard light right here or here.
You find that more flattering?
Yes.
And what do you think about the light that's more directional, like this one? This one's coming off from the side. The right camera right side of your face is a bit more in shadow here.
I think it's a little bit dramatic. I like it. But it's not, it's definitely more clear and concise, the light in the beauty dish.
Again, I'll remind everyone, these images haven't been retouched, so there's a lot of potential in retouching and altering a variety of qualities of light, from the color of the image to the contrast. But I think it's important to arrange as much as you can when you take the picture, so later you can, the modifications, you can minimize what you're to do. Okay, well, so for you, this is the beauty dish is the preferable one.
Yes, that or the umbrella. I like that dramatic lighting from the side where it's more lit on the left.
And you'll also notice in these pictures that the background it always has, between these images, there's a different tone in the background, but it's always the same white wall. And the reason for that is that depending on which modifier we were using, the amount of light that fell onto the background always varied. Now with the beauty dish, which has a larger surface and more dispersion, there was more light falling onto the background, making it lighter here. And I think the same is evident with the light bank. Same type of dynamic. Whereas here, the light was mostly concentrated on you. It was falling off, so it kept the background a bit darker here. Okay, well, good. Thank you, Ariana, for sharing that.
You're welcome.
And let's move on to our next point. On the screen, 2 portraits of Ari that we took a couple days ago. And on the one on the left, this one was taken with a softbox, and the one here on the right, this portrait was taken in introducing a flag between Ariana and the softbox. And I wanted to show you a little bit the difference and the kind of effect you can achieve. Now, this is very, again, elementary, but you can experiment with different size flags and seeing the kind of changes you can do when you're working with a large, soft light source, the way you can affect light on the subject. Let me now bring this picture over here to give you an idea. I'll put them side by side so I can toggle between these two. You can see here Ariana without the flag, and here you can see with the introduction of the flag. Now the flag is bringing back some of the light on her leg and her arm and her hand, while leaving mostly the same, the light on her face. And you can see it also changes a little bit the light here in the background. The flag. That's what the flag does. And I encourage you to experiment with a flag. And if you don't have a black flag, you can use a piece of cardboard or a large poster board, or really anything that you can find in fashion in order to do this. And that's kind of, I think, better illustrates what a flag can do when you're working with, again, a large, soft light source. Okay, I'm going to do 2 pictures. The first one, direct strobe. Okay, I'm going to move it a little bit more like this. And the next one I'm going to do with a bounce. Now I did a meter reading previously, and that's an F11 meter reading from here. And I'm just going to bounce the light onto the wall, and it's going to reflect back onto you. Okay? Can you look towards the wall a little? No? But eyes to me, Ari. More. Look right down to the lens. Okay. Thank you.